we've got a big issue here. We got salespeople that are dropping off. We've got AI coming on.
Mm,
And in our estimation, it's 40% of salespeople drop off the bottom. Where if you're
yeah.
just selling commodity sale and just being a features dumper, you will be replaced. The good news is the top end, the high end of these very high performing top salespeople, they apply themselves to bigger and bigger problems inside the customer, and the customer now welcomes them at their boardroom table and says, "We need this outside perspective."
Welcome back to the Sales Gravy podcast. I'm Jeb Blount Jr. filling in for Jeb Blount Sr. And today we have a wonderful guest. I'm really excited to dive into this conversation. I don't know how many of you are mountaineers, climbers, but I know that it is a place where people really build fortitude. And our guest today has lots of experience that has influenced his perspective and philosophy in sales, and he has so much knowledge that I'm excited to share with both individual contributors and leaders in the sales space. We're going to get into that interview in just a moment, but before we do, I want to let you know about Sales Gravy University. Sales Gravy University is the most powerful sales training platform on the market with 1,500 plus hours of sales specific training from 45 different kinds of experts from all over the world who have contributed their expertise to this platform to give you the best leg up in your sales day, to promote a professional development path that allows sales professionals to really hone their skills and sales teams to leverage this of every day, of every week, of every year. If you haven't checked out Sales Gravy University or any of our courses, use the code free course at checkout. That's learn.salesgravy.com. Learn.salesgravy.com. Use the code free course and take one course for free right now if you haven't done so before. And today we've got on the Sales Gravy podcast Mr. Robert Herbst, who is an incredible figure. I'm really excited to have him on the show. Robert, welcome to Sales Gravy, and give a little background as to your experience and why we have you on the show.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Jeb. This is great. I'm looking forward to it. So my background is originally in engineering, and then I went to work for Xerox in sales and sales management and upwards. And then 34 years ago, I started my own company in helping salespeople, sales forces develop their skills, their culture. So we've been working one on one with companies for as I say, the last 34 years, in helping them develop their culture, their skills, and then right to the frontline level.
And
You
if
know, hands on.
And if you go to your website, and there's I've been in a lot of different organizations, and there's a lot of sales cultures that have, the Pinnacle Club, right? Or
Yeah,
the Peak Club, or whatever that looks like, and they're climbing the mountain. We're always climbing the mountain up. You went up and to the right. You always want to go up and to the right in
yeah.
business. Um, and you in your website have a mountain all over it because this is where you have done a lot of work personally to develop skills being a mountaineer. When you climbed your first mountain, when was that, and what possessed you to say I'm going to go to the top of that thing and not be down here where the rest of us are?
What possessed me was foolishness. But it wasn't. I mean, obviously, it was a deeper meaning. But yeah, very. It was very. The progression was I had started off rock climbing, and this was in the east. And a friend of mine and I decided, well, we may as well go climb a mountain. And if we're going to climb one, we may as well try climbing a big one, which is not very wise. So we we climbed Mount Robson in the it's the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies, and got into all kinds of trouble.
So
Um,
why isn't it wise? Just I don't know anything about mountaineering. Why isn't it wise to go from rock, to just like climbing, a little bit of rock climbing on the East Coast to the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies? What I mean, I know that there's something inherently wrong about that, but like, why is
yeah.
that?
Well, I think may as well get into, metaphorically. The metaphor is life, and the metaphor in sales and the metaphor in business is this notion that we want to get to the top, but you can't get strong fast, right? You can't climb high fast. You can't do anything well fast, right? As you know, I mean, when I look at the Sales Gravy platform, you guys have gone broad and wide, and I'm sure it's taken you a long time to build that out. That didn't happen overnight. That's hard work. That's heavy lifting. And we've tried to do the same thing. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to help salespeople, right, in this world where we're just so sick of any negative slant on salespeople,
Mm,
and now they're
mhm,
needed more than ever.
mm,
So the mountain basically uh, is a is a good training ground, and interesting what I learned from it, and what has helped tremendously in not only the mountains but also in life and helping organizations is we are we rush very quickly to try to get to the summit. We tried to get to that up and right, and what I learned and what manifested itself very quickly was the humility of understanding that you actually ground yourself.
mm.
You can go anywhere big if you ground yourself. So for sales and sales cultures, it's the same thing. Like ground yourself in something that's very deep, and you can turn to when you talk to every customer that's trying to take you in a million different directions. That's the scary part. But if you're grounded well, you can go to big places.
And so for grounding is, it's a very philosophical way of going about keeping yourself centered, and
Yep.
as a sales organization and in leadership, and as a salesperson, because customers will want to take you in a million different directions, and especially in a sales process as well. Knowing that you're grounded somewhere, but to take it from philosophical to tactical, what are some, you've done this for 34 years. What are some places that you've seen sales organizations and salespeople ground themselves in that have helped climb the mountain, maybe not fast, but faster or more efficiently, or with greater effectiveness?
Yeah. Yeah. So I always like to say, like, keep the easy parts easy. Um, so by that I mean there's a framework that you can attach yourself to and
Mm,
turn to when things get hard. So if you're a salesperson, there are some foundational skills. If you're a sales manager, there are some foundational skills. If you're a sales leader, VP, etc., there are some foundational elements that you turn towards. So to answer your question, you create and turn to a framework, and you don't have to build it all yourself. You can turn to companies that can help you do this, but ultimately you in your sales organization have to build a foundation. It isn't just trying hard. It isn't just a lot of rah rah. You have to create these frameworks, if that makes sense.
yeah.
We built a framework that we call the 5 sixes. So there's a framework for the leader. There's a sales process that everyone turns to. The sales managers have their own grounding elements. Salespeople, of course, and then right down to the person. Um, we've found, and of course we keep testing it, and it keeps holding up, that there's three anchors, if you will,
Mm,
for a strong sales culture and sales organization. And those three anchors are: one, it's got to be anchored in personal development. I don't know about you, but I found that salespeople that are really good, they love personal development. They just love it. They love taking courses, your courses, our courses, whatever courses, books, whatever they can get their hands on. They're trying to develop themselves as people. So personal development. The second is clarity and expectations.
mm,
It's really cool to be inside a sales team where the sales people and their results are totally transparent to everybody. It's like being, playing a game. If you're on a basketball court, or not to get into sports analogies, but they hold true, right? If you're on the ice, if you're on the court, if whatever, you can see what everybody's doing, you can see how everybody's performing, and everybody wants to help each other perform, and that's just electric. It's fun, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, personal development, glory, clarification in expectations, because that ends up in the conversation with the customer too. What are expectations of each other? That creates honesty, right? And then finally, the third is achievement.
Mm,
Not that other departments don't like to achieve, but salespeople, they like to see something come to fruition, right? You
Yeah.
you like to see, you set a goal, and you like to see you have you're responsible for getting the result. It's a goal scoring position,
I love
you
these
know?
three anchors. I love these three anchors, and sports analogies just do really well because sports and sales. We talk about salespeople being the elite athletes of the business world. There's just
Yep.
so much in common with it, and it's for the exact reasons you say. Now, personal development. You and I are both in the same industry. We do the same thing. We want people to develop because we know that those who learn out earn, and that's just statistically true across so many studies that have been done about performance. That people who consistently put good knowledge into their brains and into their skill set tend to do better. But the other two, I want you to expand on a little bit because I think that it's we all know it when we see it. We know good when we see it. We know a good culture when we see it. We know that transparency works. But I've also been in organizations where that has been really hard to achieve. So, as
Mhm.
you've worked with sales organizations, clarity of expectations for a sales organization, what are some of the roadblocks to having that good culture of clarity from the leadership perspective, and maybe even some of the pitfalls from the salesperson's perspective? Why is that difficult to get to for so many businesses?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, I always go to the front line, Jeb, which is the front line is the conversation between the salesperson and the customer, right? So, we always say, well, how can we have the most honest conversation? How can we create the best relationship? Well, any relationship, if it's with a customer, if it's with you and your wife, it's with you and your kids, it's with you and your friend. It's what do we expect of each other? What can we depend on each other for?
Mm,
As soon as you ask that question and both answer it, and you got to hold each other accountable. You got to say, well, what do we expect of each other? And I'm not letting you off the hook. The culture at large strengthens when we hold that space to have that conversation. Say, what do we expect of each other? Can I depend on you? And I don't know about you, but I remember very early in my career, the best sales managers I ever had would say, "Are you going to hit your target?
mm,
Yes or no?" And if I said, "Well, yeah, of course I am," they'd say, "Okay, prove it. How are you going to do it? Show me your territory plan. Show me your account list. Show me your sales funnel. Show me what you're doing with each one of these accounts." Not as a cop, but as a coach. Let's strategize this. Let's go do this together. That conversation ends up in the same conversation with the customer. Hey, Mr. Customer, how are we've identified a problem. This is the evidence that tells us we've got a problem. This is the cost of the problem. Uh, do we both agree on that? Does the process reveal that for us both? So we both know we're working on the right problem, and we'll know what tells us when it's fixed. Oh, now I can develop a solution accordingly. Well, this is our part in the solution. Hey, Mr. Customer, what's your part in this?
yeah,
Isn't that
absolutely.
neat when you have that conversation with a customer and you both love working with each other, and it takes away the line between supplier and customer, and that
Yeah.
it just so to answer your question, Jeb, like if the culture doesn't have the regular vehicles, the mechanisms, the sales meeting, the one-on-one, the infield coaching, the open dialogue with the senior leadership and amongst different departments. Hey, our salespeople are going to go blow the lights out. They're going to sell more. Can we depend on different departments to help us deliver? It just cracks everything wide open. It's full of vinegar in any relationship, but setting expectations and saying, "Hey, what this is our part and this is my part in it. This is your part in it. Can I depend on you? Yes. Can you depend on me? Yes. What tells us that? How are we going to monitor that?" And now we're attached.
I think that illustrates exactly what why transparency in what it means to have expectations from both sales managers and salespeople and the business has on the morale of an organization.
Yep.
One of the things that I remember early, in my career when I was in the field selling to a
Mhm.
territory, and I was on my own. I was the only
Yep.
person in the territory, and my sales manager was sitting in another city with a whole bunch of other salespeople. Is that she would do a really good job of keeping me accountable, and that
Yep.
made me hit my goal. But where we suffered and where things suffered is that when there were people on the team who said they were going to hit their goal and then they didn't, and they did it for a few months in a row, even as a top performer, I started feeling like, well, maybe I can just stop hitting my number a little bit. Like it
Mhm.
just starts
Yep.
to creep in on the rest of the organization. And if you don't have that
Does.
across the board, it's really difficult to have other departments trust and depend on you, to have your customers
Yeah.
trust and depend on you. It bleeds into everything. That's so cool. Like, okay, so the three anchors: personal development, clarity of expectations, and achievement. I mean, those are
Yep.
the things that you should hold on to. And one
Mhm.
area, Robert, that you are an expert in is
Mhm.
relationships. And you
Mhm.
believe that relationships are the foundation of good sales. So, what
Yep.
does it mean for organizations and for salespeople to really start developing good relationships in practice? How do expectations, one of them with the customer, but what are some other things that help drive great partnerships rather than supplier vendor relationships?
Yeah, Jeb, I really think that everybody's dying to tell their story, you know? So if we know that, we go to a customer and I wanna know their story. Um, once that's how they are living their experience of your product or their problem. So I think the foundation of a relationship is understanding that everybody is in their story. They are in their experience of their problem. So, um, the really strong salespeople, and there's so many of them today that that enjoy a meaningful career in sales. They want to go into their customer experience, and they want to hear they're fascinated with their customer story. So the skills of asking questions and the skills of breeding objections and the skills of finding out what's moving the sale forward and what's holding it back come from being obsessed with the customer experience, that customer story. Uh, and it's no different than any other relationship. You're fascinated with each other's story, right? What's going on with if it's your best friend or again, your this goes personal business. It doesn't matter. It's a way of life. What's going on in someone else's story? What's going on in their experience of life. That's how we're having fun together. I'm enjoying this conversation. I want to know your story, right? Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish that we can help salespeople with? But I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah, so
Relationship depends on knowing and being in each other's story.
while you have spent your career in sales, you are clearly obsessed with the customer story. You help other people develop this skill set. When you have worked with sales organizations, the really top level salespeople, what is the what is the structure of their conversation with customers? What does that sound like? What have you observed the really good sales professionals do? Can you give us an example of somebody who just stood out to you in your decades of being a consultant in this space?
Oh, there's many. Yeah, it's interesting that I find that the top salespeople, they they're interested in establishing the customer problem. They get really good at immersing themselves in understanding the customer problem. So the best, and I'm thinking of one guy in particular. I won't mention his name because I would need his permission to do so. But this guy's unbelievable. He goes into a customer and immerses himself not only in their direct product and as it applies to the customer problem, but he expands it out into how's it affecting their entire business. So not afraid to draw a bigger circle,
Mm,
not afraid to continually develop um, or apply their experience into bigger and bigger problems, which mean bigger and bigger accounts, which mean bigger and bigger solutions. So their career evolves.
Mm,
You know, the top salespeople evolve from, a junior, just new hire into a journeyman salesperson. Then they get into large account management. Then they get into major account management, national account management, global account manager. Keep advancing your skill set. Apply your accumulated knowledge and wisdom to take on bigger and bigger problems. It's more fun. It's you're needed more. Especially today, Jeb, right? We've got AI coming on. We've got a big issue here. We got salespeople that are dropping off.
mm,
And in our estimation, it's 40% of salespeople drop off the bottom. Where if you're
yeah.
just selling a commodity sale and just being a features dumper, you will be replaced. The good news is the top end, the high end of these very high performing top salespeople, and I see them every day. I'm sure you do too, right? They apply themselves to bigger and bigger problems inside the customer, and the customer now welcomes them at their boardroom table and says, "We need this outside perspective."
I think that that's an an incredible place to jump off into this new world that we live in, right? Which is you have to be one above all. You cannot just be a feature dumper. We call it pitch slapping,
Yep.
sales gravy. But you walk in and you're talking about me, your product. People can do all that research. AI does all that research. And over the last 115, 25 years that professional selling in the industrial space has been around, salespeople have a bad name. There's a lot of sleazy tactics. There's lots of things that buyers, and this is important to think of from a buyer perspective. Most buyers are probably not extremely excited to meet with most salespeople because of the industry's perception. And with AI
Yep.
coming in this new world that we live in, 40% off the bottom, what are some things that salespeople in today's market are doing that they have to stop doing in order to succeed for the next 25, 50 years?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned long term, Jeff, because we're into this, right? We got to say, well, with this new technology, AI, not only AI, but automated buying, right? A customer, because they buy from Amazon, is used to subconsciously buying things now. Well, I can bypass salespeople. I
Right.
can just investigate the product and buy it on my own. So the portion of products that are being reduced to that commodity and being reduced to a customer thinking they can buy this on their own, it is very dangerous. So the salespeople that we believe are doing really well. They're doing a few things. Number one, they're declaring their role.
Ah,
They're declaring their role. So uh, the salesperson of old, without declaring your role, often my role is I'm determined to come into your organization, Mr. Customer, and find a problem that you may or may not know you have. We have a process to do that. That's my job. I have to find something that you can't see. And then we'll get to the solution. Don't worry, there'll be a solution. Yes, of course, I'd like to do business with you, but before I do that, I'm determined to find something and analyze and watch and study your problem area. I want to do that first for you. So they declare their role as, we call it, a practitioner. It's a sales practitioner, right?
yeah.
Think a doctor doesn't just go and sell you on a kidney operation. That's ridiculous. They diagnose. They find out first. Do we have this right? Let the evidence establish the problem, and the process establish the problem. So they declare their role. And that has to be done often.
Hmm. Mm. So
You know,
it's not just you don't just walk in and declare it.
nope.
It is throughout the process. You are declaring what you are doing, so there's transparency with what the expectations are from the customer.
Yeah, exactly. Very much so. And I think that the salesperson of the future, there will only be the ones that thrive. The ones that are just trying to get by and survive. That's sorry, we can see right through that. The ones who
Interesting.
go in and they're determined to find within the customer experience. They're determined to. It's this isn't tricky or sophisticated or complex. I want to find a problem and fix the problem. I want to find a problem. That is a very pure role. So they want you have to declare that. The salesperson has to declare that. The ones that are successful, they declare that. This is my job. This is my job. So yeah, once and for all, let's get rid of that sleazy stuff. Stop saying stuff just because it sounds good. Um, the other thing that we found, Jeb, is and it bothers the hell out of me. The lie that was told in the 1980s, and it's a lie. The customer is always right. That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. We got 8 billion people in the world all thinking just because I got $100 in my wallet that I know what I'm doing when I buy whatever you have to offer. It's crazy. It's created a horrendous um, schism, a
Mm,
wall
mhm.
between salespeople and customers, and we have to help relieve the customer to know that I have a part to do in this. You will have a part as well, and we're going to work really well together. We're describing the top sales reps that we've ever run into, right? The top sales reps, they say this is how I work best with customers. I investigate, I study, I come back, I show you how I'm going to investigate the process that I'm going to use, make sure that you're okay with it. And I need your part in it. I need you to reveal the information that I'm trying to assimilate and accumulate and arrange so that we know we have something to fix. Because I got to prove to myself whether I would buy this if I were you.
I like
You
that
know?
line. I like that line that you just gave, which I have to prove. And you can, I would say that to somebody if I'm truly trying to
Absolutely.
develop a relationship. Hey, Robert, look, my expectation, do it professionally. Hey, my expectation is that you give me X, Y, Z information so that I can determine if I were you, would I buy this?
Yeah,
Fantastic,
absolutely.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
What else bothers you, Robert? I'm interested in what bothers you.
Uh, well, many things, but that's the where we get our passion from, right? I can't live with this. I can't live with salespeople that coast. I can't. I
Mm.
can't live with organizations that tolerate that. Um, and by coasting, I mean people that push the easy button and take an easy sale. Those sales are going away. So that's very troubling. Um, it it's not that it bothers me, but it excites me that given this current world, yes, AI is going to take jobs and force people to take on different jobs. What are we going to do with all this time and all this expertise and all this horsepower with people? People are scrambling.
Mm.
It's the most existential conversation. What are we going to do with what are people going to do to find meaningful work? One meaningful place to work is in sales.
Yeah.
You are helping people. You are helping to find and solve a problem in companies, B2B, in people's lives. I need all the help I can get. If a salesperson comes to me and says in the if you had to name whatever problem you've invited me in to discuss, let me have a look at it. So if somebody comes in and says, "I'd love to study your problem area," and come back to you with the results, with your participation and approval, right? Man, people from the outside can see things better than I can because the creator of the problem can't see the problem. So
It's
that bothers me, Job. You're right. We've got salespeople out there that are fantastic. They're obsessed with helping a customer find and fix a problem, and that is worth its weight in gold. Those people, sales practitioners, they will have meaningful work.
I
It's a
agree.
meaningful profession.
I agree. I think that what I know to be true in my experience in this industry and the people that I speak with, like you, who are much smarter than I am, is that AI is a huge challenge for the professional world, for the business environment. However,
Mhm.
it doesn't take away the need for a human experience. It emphasizes the importance of humanity at the top levels of business decisions, because you're right, those who come from the outside can see better than those who created the problem, and they're looking for somebody that they can trust. Now, AI
Yep,
can do a lot of things. It is not the same as when I trust you, Robert. When I look into your eyes, there's a difference in my trust level than when I am in front of an AI computer. It just it can't be replicated.
absolutely. Right.
Um, you you have a lot of experience with the tactics of an organization, of a sales organization. So, what are some sales tactics, including questioning skills, negotiation skills, prospecting skills, that you teach that are fundamental for success with either individual contributors or sales organizations?
Okay. So, um, over several waves, over several phases, right? There's a lot of skills. There's what we call our five sixes, the six key areas for a salesperson as a foundation, right? As a foundation, you can layer on after that negotiation skills and advanced skills and all that stuff. But as a foundation, it's really important that um, the the whole company, all the salespeople and all the sales managers coach this into their people. They have to know how to set appointments. They have to know how to find object. This isn't rocket science. These are all words that we know inside sales, but it's incredible how foundationally inept
Mm.
too many salespeople are. They just don't revisit this, right? Know how to get um, know how to set an appointment. No matter what, doesn't matter if it's on the phone, a Zoom call, whatever the technology is, doesn't matter. You need an appointment. You're 50% of the way into the conversation if you got an appointment. Uh, two, ask questions that uncover need, gap, finding a problem. Call it what you want, right? The ability to ask questions in the broad way and all the many different ways you can ask questions. It's your curiosity and humility tool, asking questions. Uh, the third is handling objections. We have to find out where resistance is because that's where the job starts. If
Mm.
customers didn't give us objections, what do I need you for? You know, and then finally, proposals have to demonstrate different kinds of value. And I say different kinds because there's a lot of frameworks to present value within. But I think the biggest level of value is what we call level one value, which is helping a customer think and helping them make a decision, a better decision than they would otherwise make on their own. If
Mm.
you can help me think and you can do my thinking for me and you can help me make a decision, you're my best friend because I got a million decisions to make. And if you can help me make one, thank you. So those are 4 out of the 6.
Ah, those are
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, and then there is, the what we call the sales process, right? You have to a salesperson has to know how to manage the process of customer profiling,
Mm.
establishing account list, their value proposition, knowing what that is, right? And then from there, quite simply, managing a sales funnel, managing sales cycles, and forecasting. So they have to know those 6 things as one of the 6 areas that they
As a
manage.
foundation of what you do, and
Yeah.
it's all, I think that your what you illustrate there is that what salespeople and what sales organizations should be focusing on is not the fun, exciting, rah-rah, frilly things that come as easy solutions to solving the sales problem, which is how do I
Yeah.
get appointments and how do I close deals and how do we forecast correctly? It really is fundamental. It's the things that
Yep.
we've been doing since the 40s, right? When industrial selling really kicked off in a really big way. It's getting an appointment, managing the sales process, understanding your customer, asking the right questions, overcoming objections, delivering a valuable proposal, and then
Yeah.
managing your pipeline afterwards.
Yeah.
It's really not rocket science, but it's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just add to that, Jeb, that fundamentally, a good sales culture, right, basically has 3 wins, right?
Mm.
It's good for the customer, it's good for the company, and which includes the sales manager, et cetera. And it's good for you. Like, I always ask myself, Jeb, like, how should this job serve me? Without apology, right? I want it to be good for the customer. I want it to be good for the company. I want to achieve goals for them. But how does this serve me in my life? And sales is just, my God, you're just so raw. You're so exposed. You're out there. Like you said, I'm out there by myself in my territory and it's just me. And I'm driving up this laneway or going into this office and okay, here goes. Something's gonna come at me. I can do all the preparation I want, but I'm gonna learn this about myself. And you do that every day. You and sales is the place that just
Mm.
you can't help it. You're gonna get your own personal development.
You're gonna be the great American philosopher Mike Tyson once said, that everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, and sales is that every single day. You walk up that lane, you open that office door, you could know everything you know about the CEO. As soon as you start talking to them, game is different. The game
Yeah.
changes, right?
Game on.
Everything could change.
That's where it starts. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Robert,
Interesting.
you have so much knowledge, and you've done so much work over the last few decades, and I know you've got. And forgive me, is your book is upcoming,
Yep.
and it is going to be a really great resource for sales professionals. And you have your courses as well. What should people be looking for first and foremost? Tell us about your book, and then where can people find you and connect with you?
Okay. So you can find us at spireselling.com. Um, there's 2 books coming out. So one is called Cheating Death. It's for salespeople, and it's to talk about. It talks about sales in today's world. You know, the role and your deeper reason why you're doing this. And the other book is a culture transformation manual, and that's for senior leaders, sales managers, etc., who want to build a culture out. So it introduces a framework and a storyline for doing that. So those 2 books are coming out shortly. Um, yeah. So if anyone would like to find out more, go to spireselling.com, um, and that'll show you where and what other courses that we have available,
That's awesome.
and work consulting work as well.
Lovely. Well, Robert, thank you so much for being on the Sales Gravy podcast. Before we let you go, y'all check out Sales Gravy Live. We have a series of events that are happening throughout 2025. They will be held in different places around the country. Right now, we've got 3 in Atlanta. They're going to be covering our emotional intelligence selling, our fanatical prospecting course, and we're also going to be covering objections from our content as well. It'll be taught by a live sales master trainer from Sales Gravy. You can bring your team to Atlanta or whatever city we're in. Go check out all of those events at salesgravy.com/live. That's salesgravy.com/live. Robert, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you being on the Sales Gravy podcast.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to click like and subscribe so you never miss a single video. And if you want more sales training content, go to learn.salesgravy.com.